Boom. Okay, so here is the plan for today. A slight change from what you might expect, unless you've seen the calendar, in which case it's exactly what you expect. And that is, we're going to do lesson 7, excuse me, lesson 8 before we do lesson 7. I will explain why. The gist of it is lesson 7 is ridiculous. It's not just, I wouldn't say it's super difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but it's also a little bit convoluted in the way that they present it. I'll show it to you just so you have an idea of what we probably are going to do next time. And so, lesson 7, we are still continuing our conditionals practice. But lesson 7, so there are 4 bubbles, the working bubbles for lesson 7. You'd think there's 4 projects or 4 steps or whatever. No, there are 3 projects. There are 3 different apps that they've given you the framework for. And for each of them, you can see this is bubble 1, bubble 2, bubble 3, bubble 4. It's the same 3 apps, but the bubbles are just like, in this bubble, create the variables. In this bubble, check for this. In this bubble, and while that's reasonable-ish, it's a little complex or convoluted. But what's really the issue, I guess, is the apps are like pretty impressive as far as what they are able to do with App Lab. Even a simple one is like a name guessing game or a movie guessing game with custom emoji matching, whatever. And this is a lot of code to sort of break down to solve for where I think you are at this point in your career. So not clear exactly how we're going to do it, but either way, it's at the soonest it'll be next class. So that's a problem for future us. And so that means we're going to go straight to lesson 8. Okay, lesson 8. Let me go ahead and open it and open it. You can go ahead and refresh and go to lesson 8. You won't be able to see lesson 7, and that's on purpose. Period 1. Yes. Okay, so lesson 8. There is only one thing to do, and it is the museum ticket generator app. If you go to bubble 1, it will show you the completed working app, I think. Let's turn this thing off. And let's see what we got here. All right, so the way the app works is the user puts in the day of the week, the age of the user, whether or not they have a discount code. There's only one that will end up working. And the user hits create my ticket, and they get an output. The first 2 are things they provided. So that's not super useful. It is part of the output that you will need to do. And then it gives the price of the ticket, which, let's do Saturday and 16, $10. There we go. And free Friday. That one word it is. We do free Friday on Saturday. It's no savings, but if we switch it to Friday, it's free, which, as the discount code might imply. So on bubble 2, feel free to play around with the working thing, and you will probably need to refer to it to remember like what the output is. But on bubble 2, they've given you the framework. They haven't given you a ton. Most of the generousness of the project is the design elements, where, it's a good looking app as far as clear to read. And you might not appreciate these things at this point, but having a nice clean interface, it is, I don't want to say critical, but when you've seen enough apps that students are just doing the minimum, which if it wasn't enough, it wouldn't be called the minimum. But I've seen a lot of apps that are just sort of dragging things onto the screen and just in no order, and it looks accidental at best. When you see something like this that is clean and clear what's supposed to be done, hopefully you can appreciate that. And by appreciate, I mean just like recognize its value, not, be grateful and appreciate. Either way, the design elements are already provided, including the possible answers for the 2 drop downs. Having a drop down with like just a bunch of numbers is it's kind of lame. There are better ways to do it, like a slider bar. But for our sake, this is fine. And since you weren't the one that had to go through and where are we? Type in every number, we'll use it. But in the future, when we're doing a large list of numbers like this, we'll probably use some sort of slider to have a number input. But that's not the point for today. Okay, so the steps for this are enumerated here in the comments. Okay, first thing you have to do is create the variables. Think about the things you need to keep track of between the point the user chooses things and when you are calculating. Those are your variables. And even though this is a single function app, a single event, like a single function definition, not like it only does one thing. Of course, it only does one thing, but there's only one thing going on. Technically speaking, every variable could be a local variable, but that's a bad habit to get into. We want to at least declare variables globally. It will help us in the future. If you want to, this is actually one time where I wouldn't give them an initial value because the initial values might mess things up. But if you give them, like, day is going to be a string because it's a word, giving them an empty string as the initial value is fine. Age is going to be a number, giving it a 0 as initial value is fine. But either way, first thing you're going to do is figure out what variables you need to keep track of, and then how you're going to update them. Okay, that's 2 different things. Feel free to go ahead, but I'm going to give you 10 minutes, 5 minutes to do those 2 things, and then we will collect those of you who didn't get that and then introduce the next part. But right now, 5 minutes to try and figure out what are the things you need to keep track of. What are the shoeboxes you need to create to keep track of things that change? All right, ready, go. You are allowed to collaborate at this point, if needed. What's up? What the lesson that most closely resembles this, excellent question, is probably 6. And actually, I'll go ahead and um, yeah, 6 in the various bubbles. I'll find which one is most relevant for each aspect. But yeah, lesson 6 is where most of this learning comes from. Yep. Let's go to this. Okay, so let's take a look at this simple part. The first part. Um, these sort of like lesson, whatever, bubble, whatever, is where I think the um not answers, but the skills needed for this. Let's just get a common format. Okay, so what are the things that we need to keep track of? Any guesses? Somebody throw something out. Anybody at all? Day. Excellent. We need a variable to keep track of the day. Now, do we need to give it an initial value? Every time we call it, we are going to get that variable or get the value of the day. So we don't really need to we don't really need to give it an initial value. We just need to declare it globally. Okay, I'm going to call it day because that's about as good of a variable name as it gets. And even though I said before, I don't like naming variables or functions or something like that, that's a little too on the nose. That is a word that you're going to use later, and It'd make a weird concatenating. That's probably not going to be the case here. So there's that. What else do we need to keep track of? Age. Excellent. And the same situation as far as where we're getting our initial value. It is fine not to give it an initial value because we're going to get it here. And if you look at any one of the previous from any of the bubbles from lesson 6, you will see the declaring of things globally and then updating them immediately. And there's one other thing we need to keep track of. Any guesses at all? Well, there's actually 2 other things that I can think of. Discount code. We'll go ahead and do that. I don't like the word code. How about just discount code? Why not? And so those are the things that are going to change. Those are the things that are user inputs. But we probably want to make a variable that is where we're going to sort of collect all of the information and for the sake of the output. And then, but I think we'll do that as a local variable because it's only just sort of like a shortcut. You'll see when we put everything together. Okay, so these are the, as far as I can think of, only 3 things we need to keep track of. So we're creating these variables globally. And we need to update the variables. We need to gather that information for the sake of checking the conditionals every single time they click the button. And it needs to be done first because all of the checking and output is based on the current state of that. So we need to reassign all of these variables to whatever it is they're supposed to be. Okay, remember var only goes at the top. After that, you just use the regular reassign variable. And the 3 variables are the things we need to keep track of. And so how are we going to get the information? Well, we're going to use the get text for things that are going to be text. Only 2 of these are text, the day and the discount code. The age is a number, and we need to use get number. The reason why you need to use get number, if you use get text for a number, it will work sort of. It will bring in that numeral, that number, as a string, and it won't have the properties of a number. It'll be like the character 5 or the letter 5 or whatever. It's not going to have the value of a number. So we need to use get number. We want to bring it in as its data type being a number. There are some weird edge cases in JavaScript where it will do math with a string that's just a number, but it's important that we lay the groundwork for data types at this point. And then discount code is also going to be a text. Now we need to tell it where to get these things. Okay, day is going to get the text from day dropdown is the name of that dropdown. Day dropdown. Age is going to get the number from age dropdown. And the discount code is going to get the text from, it's probably called discount input. Discount input. And discount input, alphabetical. We could at this point, in fact, let's go ahead and do it. Let's just double check. Let's console log our 3 variables, not in quotes, just to make sure that this is sort of like a pre-bugging. No, that doesn't make sense. Pre-debugging of making sure that the program is actually receiving the correct information so that these variables, we can use them going forward. So later on, if you have something like get day from, what is this called? Day label, get the text from day label, it's not going to work Now they've given great names for the design elements, but if you choose the wrong one, the get text isn't going to work. So we're going to make sure and see if these work. Let's go ahead and choose a day, choose an age, and type a possible discount code. We hit create my ticket, and we get all of the things except discount code. Oh, because it's, there we go. There's a problem. It's not discount code, it's discount input. That was not an intentional mistake, although I'm going to make it intentionally later for the other classes because it is a great example of why we just did that. Okay, and you can see our output is just the debugging, the debug console, and everything gets there. So you can keep these in here. We might as well. Actually, your choice. Keep them in or get rid of. That's it. Okay, so now we have updated variables. We can now use them in our conditional. And, oh, you know what? I forgot about something. So our conditional, what is the output of the conditional? I forgot about a variable. The output of the conditional is, I mean, the string of, day, price, or day, age, and price that we saw on the previous bubble, on bubble 1. This is what the output. But we need a way to keep track of the price output, like the actual number. We need a variable for that, because that is going to change that's where we're going to actually put our result in. So let's go ahead and declare a variable price. And we are going to, inside of our multi-path conditional, we are going to update that. Okay. Did I just lose everything? What happened? Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. Let me put this back the way it was. We need a variable declared. What is happening? All right. Well, give me a second. You can go ahead and continue. The next part is figuring out what the actual conditions are. What are the paths? Okay, if you look at the example, there are 3 different output prices, 0, 5, and 10, based on, well, you could play around with it and see if it's Friday and Free Friday, there's that. If there's no discount code and the day is Tuesday and the age 16, it's 5. If it's Saturday or Sunday, it's 10 at any age. And I'm surprised it doesn't list out the specific rules. The problem is if it lists out the specific rules are the answer. They are the actual conditional situation. And the answers to this, or the knowledge for this, are found, or is found, on bubble 4, where you're going to be making lesson 6, bubble 4, where you're going to be making a multi if-else, if-else-if branch situation. And because some of the conditions are checking 2 things, you also should be aware of the skills required to do bubble 5, which I think it's bubble 5, where it was doing the and situation, checking 2 things in the same conditional path. Okay, so think about what we're actually checking for. And, oh, weird. Why did that break? I definitely didn't have var there. Yeah, so you are trying to figure out the actual algorithm for, what is going on? Why is my thing? We'll see if I can fix this here in a second. Yeah, go ahead and you are trying to figure out what the actual out the paths, the different paths to the different prices. You may need to go back to bubble one in this lesson to figure out the different combinations of what age does what and which age does not do that. Okay. Probably at least 10 minutes. We'll see where everyone is at that point. Maybe I'll be able to fix my stuff by then. Okay. Ready, go. Yeah. Yep. Why does this look like? Oh, that's why. Um, Remember, no var inside of the event handler. That is why. Okay. Remember, you'll need a if else or a path for every scenario. There are at least 3 scenarios. You can chunk it off into 4, maybe, depending on how you think about it. But there you go. Go for it. Uh, What's up? \n inside of the string, or inside of a string, even if it's its own. Okay, so let's go ahead and do at least one of these paths. And um, let's actually work out the is this going to work? No, that's not going to work. Work out the actual algorithm, or the actual problem solving. Okay, so it make a ticket for the weekend. How much does it cost? So a weekend day, we hit create ticket. It's $10. What about if it's or if the age is 22, if the age is 37? Okay, it looks like no matter what, if it's a weekend, the price is $10. Even if we type in free, in all caps, it is almost unreadable. Even if we do free Friday, it's a weekend, price is $10. So there's no scenario in which it's a weekend and the price is not $10. So we can go ahead and knock that one out. So the first thing, it is a if day is Saturday or day is Sunday. Now, there was an example in one of the videos where if you wrote it out, if day double equals Saturday. Wait, is it all caps? No, it isn't. Saturday. Or, which is vertical bar, shift backslash, which is above the enter key. Day equals Saturday or Sunday. That's checking if it's the weekend. No, it's not. Okay. Anytime you have an or, you're asking two separate questions. So we are asking if day is Saturday or day double equals Sunday. That is how we are checking the weekend. Okay, we could do if day does not equal, we could check the same thing for like not equals weekdays. But either way, this is going to knock out all the scenarios in which the price is $10. So if you didn't before, because I did it sort of late, we have a variable called price. And in the scenario, it's the weekend, price gets 10. Okay, we don't need $10. We will add that in the concatenating at the end. So there's that. Okay. The other scenarios are price is 5. And the last one is price is 0, but that might not be the order that you want to do them in, simply because you might want to put in a different, depending on what goes here in the second conditional slot, would affect whether you do price 5 or price 0 first. But that's up to you. Now that you sort of have an idea of what is going where, I'll give you another 5 minutes to play around with it and see if you can get it to work. Proceed.